Hey, P students, Professor R here. I want to take a minute and go over the 3D model with you really quick. You have that whole pre-lab, so make sure you go through, watch some of the videos so you are all set for lab and have the most time with the models. So here's my 3D guy. I just took a muscle off here. This muscle is called the platysma. Don't worry about it. We don't study it. It's not on the models, but you will see it on the anatomage table. So when we are studying this, we have a couple models that are full body models. I call them Little Man and Smeagol. And let's just take a quick peek because if we look at the full model, we can easily see the pectoralis major muscle that's on the anterior side. So since that's anterior, remember that's going to pull the humerus forward. That would flex the shoulder, or you'd say flex the humerus. You can't just say flex, remember, because I'm going to say flex what? If I flip it over on the back, you guys probably all know that that muscle is the trapezius. I'm going to go ahead and take it off so we can see the muscles deep to it. And when we study the models, usually on one side is the superficial view and the other side they remove it. So when I remove it, I get a little better view of my entire deltoid muscle. So if you look at the deltoid, it sits right on top of your shoulder. When a muscle crosses over the top of a shoulder joint, it's going to pull the humerus up for abduction or abduction. If you look at the deltoid, notice there's an anterior piece, a posterior piece, and a middle. The anterior portion is going to work with the pectoralis major. It's going to flex, and you'll learn it's even going to internally rotate or medially rotate the shoulder. The posterior portion, on the other hand, is going to extend because it's on the back, and it's going to work with the latissimus dorsi. Really huge muscle here. It gives that V shape. So the latissimus dorsi, posterior deltoid, really good extensors. Now, if we zoom in, we have what's called the rotator cuff muscle group. If you find the spine of the scapula, it ends up here at the acromion. Rotate a little. There's the clavicle. Remember the AC joint. What we do is find the spine of the scapula, and I'm going to go ahead and take off this deltoid so we can see a little bit better. But notice there's a muscle above the spine and below the spine. Remember the fossa up here was called the supraspinous fossa. In fact, if I go ahead and take that muscle off, you'll see the fossa there that we learned last week. Well, the muscle that sits in it is called the supraspinatus muscle. So the muscle sits right inside that fossa. And the fossa below was the infraspinous, so we have the infraspinatus muscle below that. Now there's two other muscles here. One's called the teres minor. It looks like a little sliver of a muscle. It's always right next to that infraspinatus. And the next one down is called the teres major. Teres major always hangs out with the lats. So think of it, we call it the little helper to latissimus dorsi. So the infraspinatus, the teres minor, the teres major, and latissimus dorsi, they're all posterior. They all extend the shoulder joint. Notice also, if we look at the infraspinatus and the teres minor, they insert on this lateral side of the humerus. They're going to pull it back. They're going to laterally rotate. But the latissimus dorsi and the teres major, they actually come all the way around and they insert on the front, on the anterior side of the humerus. So they actually are going to pull it down and forward and internally rotate. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this pec off so we can see the muscles a little deeper to it. And what I know you can't miss is the biceps brachii. So the biceps brachii, pretty large muscle. Notice it crosses the shoulder and the elbow, so it has an action at both. And if I rotate my model a little bit, you'll see a muscle deep to it. That's the brachialis. So the brachialis is just below the biceps brachii. In fact, if I go ahead and take the biceps off momentarily, you see another muscle here as well. And what you're going to see is, one, you see that brachialis. Now you also see what's called the coracobrachialis because it runs from the coracoid process to the arm. So these are deeper muscles that we can see that are below the biceps brachii. Now the biceps brachii has two heads. One's called long, one's called short. We'll deal with that later. You also, while we're in an anterior view, all of these muscles here, these are all your flexors. We'll be learning these when we're in lab, but I want you to note that if we're looking at the flexors, and we're talking about flexion, right, anterior direction, they're on the anterior side. And if I flip them over, all my wrist extensors are on the posterior side. You can see all those tendons there too that you probably see below your skin. Now, if I come back up above the elbow for a moment, I had my rotator cuff muscles here, my supraspinatus, my infraspinatus, and my teres minor. There's a fourth rotator cuff muscle that's pretty deep, and it's actually called the subscapularis. And in order to see that one, which you'll actually see on the models, is actually in the subscapular fossa. Remember that one, which is going to be on the anterior side. And then back here, I have my giant triceps brachii, called triceps brachii because it actually has 3 heads, and it inserts on that olecranon process, right? We think of it as our elbow. And the 3 heads will be lateral, long, and medial, but we'll see those best when we look at those in lab. So again, I just wanted to do a real quick overview of some of these muscles here that we're going to be looking at in lab. Keep an eye on which are deep and superficial, and hopefully that'll give you a good start. Next, you're going to go in and do a quick assignment in PAL where I have some flashcards for you to just practice. And then you have some of your pre-lab questions, which is going to be answer muscles from those. So I'll see you in lab.